Hi, I'm Mary Susan from Jessamine County Adult Education Skills U, and in this video I'm going to be looking at ways to use proportion on the GED test. And this video is going to be part one because there's so many ways to use proportion on the GED test. Proportions can be used to solve problems involving sports, recipes, maps, duplicate ratios, measurement conversions, money, similar triangles, changes in scale, rate of change, percent, and standard proportions. So in this video, I'm going to be looking at sports, recipes, maps, duplicate ratio, and standard proportions. I think standard proportions really means anything else that they haven't mentioned in the list there. So in the first question, we have an application for a sports situation. So Daniel runs 3 miles in 21 minutes. If he continues to run at the same rate, how long will it take him to run 8 miles? So I've made a little chart that I've noted the miles and the minutes. And so they tell us here in the first part of the sentence that there are 3 miles to 21 minutes. So I'm going to put in 3 miles to 21 minutes. And in the next part, it says if he continues to run, how long will it take to run 8 miles? So if I have 8 miles, that will be X amount of minutes would it take. So I'm going to cross multiply and find that 8 times 21 is 168. And 3 times X is 3X. And then our next step is we want to separate the 3 from the X. So we're going to do the opposite of what they've done here, which is multiply. So we're going to divide both sides by 3. And if we multiply by 3 and divide by 3, that cancels those out. And 168 divided by 3 is 56. So it will be 56 minutes. The distance on the map between Hart and Melton is 3 inches. What is the actual distance if the map is using a scale of 1 inch to 170 miles? So I'm going to just draw a line here to separate my inches and miles. And then if my actual distance here, on the map, they're 3 inches apart. So I'm going to be looking for the actual distance. So again, I'm going to cross multiply, and that will give me 170 times 3 is 510. And 1 times X is 1X. And I am going to show the 1 because now on both sides I'm going to divide by 1. So if I divide by 1 on each side, it's really not going to change my numbers because if you divide by 1, you still have the same amount. So I have 510 is going to be equal to X. So the actual distance will be 510 miles. 3 eggs are needed to make 15 waffles. How many eggs are needed to make 25 waffles? If you pause the video here, I'd like you to try to write this problem out, and then we'll come back and do it together. So if you used a ratio of 3 eggs to 15 waffles, 3 eggs and 15 waffles, Then you would be trying to find the amount of eggs for 25 waffles. And when you cross multiplied, you would get 15x and 75. Then when dividing by 15 on both sides, you would have found that x is equal to 5. So it would take 5 eggs. Here's a problem that was referred to as duplicate ratios, and I've written the ratio for the first part. 3 is to 20, as 9 is to what number? So the second part is just 9 is to what number? And if we cross multiply, then we will have 20 times 9, it's 180, and that will be 3 times x is 3x. So if we divide both sides by 3, so that we can get the 3 away from the x, (180) divided by 3 is 60. So 60 is equal to x, and we found the missing number. Amex Company has 3 part-time workers for every 10 full-time workers. If Amex has 338 total employees, how many full-time workers do they employ? So if you'll remember back in the previous video when we were just writing ratios, we saw that if you have 3 part-time workers and 10 full-time workers, that would give you a total of 13 workers. So here, if we are going to be comparing the full-time workers, which was 10, to the total workers, 13. If Amex has 338 total employees, we'll be looking for how many full-time workers do they have if they have 338 full-time workers. So let's cross multiply. We'll have 13x and 3380. And if we divide by 13 on both sides, that will cancel the 13s so that we have x is equal to 3380 divided by 13, 260. So there are 260 full-time workers in the plant. The pet shop sells 4 cats for every 5 dogs. If dogs and cats are sell proportionally, how many dogs would be sold if 55 pets were sold in all? So again, pause here and write out this problem, and then we'll come back and solve it. So here I've made the notes, some notes for the amount of cats and dogs and the total pets. So if I have 5 dogs and 4 cats, that gives me 9 total pets. If I'm comparing the amount of dogs to total pets, that would be 5 to 9. And then in the problem, if I have how many dogs would be sold if 55 total pets were sold. So when I cross multiply, I would get 9x, and 5 times 55, 275. And if we divide both sides by 9, and we'll have x is equal to 30.5555. So what's going to be our answer here? Are we going to round up to 31? Well, in some questions you would, especially if you were looking at a question dealing with money. But here, if we're looking at the number of dogs, we're not going to be able to sell a half of a dog. So really, the total amount of dogs that would sell would only be 30. So here's some practice problems that you can try, and I'll do a follow-up video again that will work each problem and give you the answer, the correct answers for each of these. So you can pause here and work on these problems, and I hope that you will join me next time.